This is a book. It is a very good book. The name of this book is Atomic Habits. This book is made out of paper, and I love the sound of paper books. This book was written by James Clear. It is packed with amazing stuff, amazing ideas, and I wanted to make a video about it and share it with you guys because, as I said, it's a really, really good book, but it is very long, and I have highlighted practically every single paragraph of this book. So I had two choices. Either I only scrape the surface, and that would be a pity, or I break it down into a few videos, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is video number 1. So today we're going to be talking about how tiny changes can make remarkable changes in your life. It doesn't matter if it's in your personal life, in your business, or whatever. Tiny, teensy little changes can make an enormous difference, and we're going to illustrate this with a few examples that I found in this book, and it's going to be really cool. So I'm very excited, and let's jump right in. Roll the intro. Okay, it's kind of a new channel and I don't have an intro yet. But hey, if this is the first time we meet, my name is Raphael. You can call me Raph. I'm the CEO of Zings, a new upcoming social media platform that will come out very soon. I'm really excited about this, and on this channel, I help you optimize your energy, your productivity, your time management, your work and personal relationships, and I give you some tips. And we also review books just like in today's video. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Okay, so I got an email by some very handsome anonymous person, and it's really cool that he sent that email today, because actually this is a question that I wanted to answer today. And he says, I found your channel because I am a future CEO and I was looking for content regarding that subject, and I find only energy videos, health videos, productivity videos. What's up with that? Well, I can answer this question very well. If you want to be a future CEO, if you want to be a CEO, if you want to be successful, a businessman or an entrepreneur or a peak performer, you're going to have to concentrate on what really matters. You're going to have to focus on tiny little things that are going to compound with each other and through time, so that you will have that competitive edge. And this is exactly the story that James Clear tells us in his book. He talks about the cycling team of Great Britain, and they had not won a single competition for 110 years. 110 years they didn't win anything. Bike manufacturers didn't want them to ride their bicycles because they thought it was bad publicity. Nothing to do with sponsoring or like paying them or anything. They just didn't want people to see them riding their bikes. That's how bad the team was doing. And a couple of years ago came in this guy named Dave Brailsford. His name was Dave Brailsford, and I quote, "The whole principle came from the idea that if you broke down everything you could think of that goes into riding a bike and then improve it by 1%, you will get a significant increase when you put them all together." So what they did is that they took everything that they could think of to improve by a tiny weensy little bit and do it over time, compounding themselves. They found more than 100 little things that they could improve, tiny little things that actually made a huge difference. For example, they decided to paint the truck that follows the cyclists. You know, like when you see a cycling race, you have the cycling team, but behind they have like a little truck where they carry the gear with them. If they break a wheel or anything, they don't change the wheel, they change the whole bike, because then it takes less time, right? Well, they decided to paint the inside of those truck whites, so that if they saw the tiny little piece of dust, if they saw that there was a tiny little piece of dust that may get in the way of those fine-tuned bicycles, they could see it and they could get away of this little dust. Now, you can think that this is crazy, but yeah, they did many crazy things like this. They changed a little part of their shorts with some special material so that they made sure that the muscle was always at the right temperature. They changed the saddle so that it's a tiny little bit different so that they can have better movement. They put alcohol on the tires so that they would have a better grip. What else did they do? They hired a surgeon to teach the cyclists how to properly thoroughly wash their hands so that they would not catch a cold before the race or during the race or whatever. And there was over 100 tiny little improvements so that they would have better results. And guess what? 5 years later, 5 years, it took 5 years. So, it's not an overnight success. 5 years with all those tiny little changes. And then they started winning everything. They won 178 world championships. They won 66 gold Olympic medals for the Olympics and Paralympics. And they won 5 Tour de France that they never ever won before. The Tour de France is one of the most prestigious cycling events. And that made it the best run in cycling history. Now, I'm not a fan of cycling. I do know the Tour de France because it's on in France every year, and it's a big event. I'm not a big fan of cycling, but I know that this means a lot. And you should realize how powerful this story is. So tiny little increments of things that you wouldn't even notice if you would take them individually. You would never think of them individually, but put together and over time, it made that enormous difference. It's pretty cool. And this is why on this channel that is aimed at future CEOs just like myself, we talk always about those little things that will increment. Energy. You need energy so that you can be the best. If you have a meeting, you need that energy. You can't just be on the sugar low and not say anything in a meeting, or if you have a presentation, or if you have to convince an investor to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into your company. If you're half asleep and looking sluggish with a bad posture, it will make the difference. Tim Ferriss? Do you guys know Tim Ferriss? He has this really successful podcast where he interviews the best of the best in everything: actors, musicians, hedge fund managers, business people, really successful people. And he wrote this book called Tools of Titans, where he recollects all 300 interviews with the best of the best. And he made a statistic that 80% of the people he interviewed meditate. So when I talk about meditation, when I say meditation is amazing for your productivity, when meditation is amazing for your relationships, it is also amazing for you as a CEO, for you as a founder, a business owner, or a entrepreneur, maybe you want to become this. So figure out those little systems, and those will give you an edge. Also, 45% of the people that he interviewed don't eat breakfast. I talk about intermittent fasting on this channel. It's a CEO channel. We talk about nutrition. We talk about fasting. We talk about keto diet. We talk about meditation. We talk about sleep. We talk about productivity. All these little things compounded together and over time will give you and will give me, hopefully, the edge to be as successful as we want to become. Now, I want to make a second little example, and then we'll go to the whiteboard because I draw up a little bit of math to illustrate all this too. He illustrates that theory also by taking the example of planes. If they were to take off from LAX, the Los Angeles airport, and go to New York, if the plane, like a normal Boeing 747, I guess, if that plane was 90-inch to another direction, over time, going from one side of the country to the other side of the country, he would land in Washington. So 90 inches at the start of the journey can be compounded to 225 miles at the end. So if you wanted to land in New York, you would actually be landing in Washington, D.C. That's a huge distance, right? And it's a little bit of a joke because, of course, there's winds and angles and all this kind of stuff that you have to kind of maneuver. This is just to show you the curve of either going 1% in the success journey or 1% in the defeat journey. So let's go to the whiteboard. So this is what we want to illustrate right now, the aggregation of tiny marginal gains. So he says that if you were 1% better every single day for 365 days, at the end of the year you will be nearly 38 times better. But if you were 1% worse every day for 365 days, that's kind of like if you would go back to zero. So 37.78 times better, or nearly zero, go back to zero. This is the change. And he gives us this curve. I just copied this curve from the book. 1% improvement, this is the results over time, and 1% decline again over time. So just think about this. How can we apply this in our own lives? It's really good to see those graphs. It really helps to picture it, to illustrate it, that 1% of everything that you do will compound into incredible results. Tiny changes, incredible results. And the opposite is true also. You know, over time, if you continue to have a behavior, you know, that is not at the service of what you want to do or what you want to become, then you will decline. And it seems kind of logical, but it's really useful. And this is also to answer to this anonymous email that we got at the beginning. Why are we talking about energy? Why are we talking about productivity when we should be more talking about business? Because you need to learn, you need to know these things. You need to learn how to manage yourself before you can manage others, and every single piece counts. So we are going to talk about how to get from an idea to a prototype to actually building a business to finding co-founders, etc. We're going to talk about all these things, I promise. But we are also going to talk about how to maximize your potential yourself, so your energy. Because imagine you have a presentation to make in front of an audience or in front of some investors, and you're in a sugar low and you can't talk and you're sweating and you don't feel good and your posture is really bad and you don't feel energized, you feel sluggish. They will feel it. They won't know if it's because you had a bad breakfast. Maybe they'll think you're just not passionate about your idea, you know? Every little thing counts. You need to have the energy, you need to have the drive if you want to be successful in your business. Before we finish this video, let's read a few quotes from the book. The first quote: too often we convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action. It doesn't. Massive success requires tiny, mini actions compounding together and over time. When we repeat 1% errors day after day, by replicating poor decisions, duplicating tiny mistakes, and rationalizing little excuses, our small choices compound into toxic results. It's the accumulation of many missteps, a 1% decline here and there, that eventually leads to a problem. An atomic habit refers to a tiny change, a marginal gain, a 1% improvement. But atomic habits are not just any old habits, however small. They are little habits that are part of a larger system. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. Habits are like the atoms of our lives. Each one is a fundamental unit that contributes to your overall improvement. At first, these tiny routines seem insignificant, but soon they build on each other and fuel bigger wins that multiply to a degree that far outweighs the cost of their initial investment. They are both small and mighty. This is the meaning of the phrase atomic habits, a regular practice of routine that is not only small and easy to do, but also the source of incredible power, a component of the system of compound growth. Amazing book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. We're going to do more videos on that subject. We're even going to make mini films to illustrate it a little bit better. If you've enjoyed this video, please put a thumb up. If you've not enjoyed this video, you can put a thumb down. I don't mind, really. And if you've not done so already, please subscribe to this channel. My name is Raf. I'm really happy that you found this channel, so welcome on our journey, and I will see you very soon in the next video. Take care.